If you owe the IRS, they can take money directly from your paycheck without a court order. But how much can they legally take? The answer might shock you. In this video, I'll explain exactly how IRS wage garnishments work, how much they can take, and most importantly, how to stop it before it's too late. I've seen clients lose thousands of dollars to IRS wage levies, many of whom had no idea it was coming, but there are ways to stop it, and I'll show you how. I'm Brad Palladini, a tax attorney with 12 years of experience helping people fight IRS collections and keep more of their hard-earned money. So how much can the IRS garnish from your wages? Unlike other creditors, the IRS doesn't need a court order to take your paycheck. Once they decide to garnish, it's happening. The IRS sends a notice to your employer requiring them to withhold part of your wages. Now, the employer must comply or they can face serious consequences. The IRS will continue garnishing your wages until your debt is paid or you reach an agreement with them. Now, the IRS won't take your paycheck out of nowhere. They are legally required to warn you first. Before the garnishment begins, the IRS must send a series of notices, including like a CP-14, CP-501, CP-503. These are initial notices about your unpaid tax debt. Eventually, you'll also receive a CP-504, which is a final notice before levy. The really important notice that you have to keep your eye out for is an LT11 or a letter 1058. This is the final warning, and it is your right to appeal. Once you receive an LT11 or a letter 1058, you have 30 days to stop the garnishment. So how much can the IRS take? There's no hard limit on how much the IRS can garnish, but they must leave you with a minimum amount based on your filing status and the number of dependents that you have. So depending on your exemption amount, the IRS can take anything that exceeds that amount. And the exemption amount is ridiculously low. So for a single person, it might just be $600 roughly per paycheck that they leave you with. So if you're making 150 or 200 grand a year, they are leaving you with peanuts. Now it does increase if you're married and you file jointly and if you have dependents, but you get the idea. It's not a tremendous amount of money that they leave in your pocket. And again, they can take everything over the exempt amount. How long does a wage garnishment last? Once the IRS starts taking your paycheck, it doesn't stop unless you do something about it. The IRS will continue garnishing wages until the tax debt is paid in full, or you negotiate some sort of payment plan or settlement, or potentially if the collection statute expires after 10 years. So how do you stop a wage garnishment? Well, option one, you could pay the tax debt in full. If the IRS has gotten to the point where they are garnishing your wages, that's most likely not an option. But if you were to somehow get a loan, get some help from family or friends, and pay off the debt in full, they would stop the garnishment immediately. More realistically, for taxpayers who have made it to the garnishment stage, they could set up an installment agreement. So you don't necessarily have to pay everything at once. The IRS will stop the garnishment if you set up a monthly payment plan. There are different types of payment plans, but if you are trying to negotiate one after a wage garnishment, the key phrase that you want to keep in mind is financial hardship. Most likely, the IRS is going to require a financial statement showing what your income is without the garnishment and what all of your ordinary and necessary expenses are for things like food and housing and car payment. And they'll look at that analysis and determine how much you can pay per month. That almost always is going to be significantly less than what the IRS is garnishing. If you don't like the idea of a payment plan, you could also try to negotiate an offer and compromise. This is where the IRS actually settles the debt for less than what you owe. It sounds far-fetched, but it is possible. You do have to qualify, and not everyone does. So while approval rates are low for offers and compromises, if accepted, the wage levy would stop. If you don't qualify for an offer and compromise and you don't like the idea of a payment plan, you could request currently non-collectible status. So if you can prove financial hardship, the IRS might stop collections completely. Currently non-collectible status, or CNC status, means the IRS pauses collection efforts, including wage garnishments, but you gotta show them that you can't afford both basic living expenses and to pay the back taxes. If you act fast, you can legally stop a garnishment before before it even starts, and this is really the best option. We talked earlier about a letter 1058 or an LT11, the final notice of intent to levy. Included in that piece of mail will be a form 12153 collection due process hearing request. If you submit that request within 30 days and the actual letter 1058 or LT11 will say the specific day you have to file that by, you want to file it by certified mail, then the IRS is prevented from garnishing your wages until the appeal is resolved. That can be anywhere from 3 to 9 months, depending on the time of year and the backlog of the IRS. But that is a great opportunity to negotiate one of the other resolutions we discussed, whether it be an offer in compromise, a payment plan, or currently non-collectible status. If this video helped you understand how IRS wage garnishments work, please take a moment to hit that like button so more people can get this information. If your wages are being garnished and you need immediate help stopping it, click the link below for a free consultation. My team and I focus on stopping IRS wage levies before they drain your paycheck.